Let's talk about Trapt.
魔人の烙印など
上とソイラフォス
姫様その腕はまさか
上にソイラフォス
Trapt is a game about an anime princess who looks kind of like a trap herself, tricking dumbass villagers and knights into walking headlong into deadly traps. Yes, that's right. Despite its name, this isn't a game where you play as a one-hit wonder dad rock band that hasn't been popular since 2003, desperately struggling to gain relevance on Twitter by throwing tantrums at more popular groups such as Dance Gavin Dance, the entirety of Sumerian Records, and whatever band Jason Richardson is in this week. Borderline run-on sentences aside, I had never heard of this game before now, so I was curious as to whether or not it's a hidden gem or just another piece of shovelware forced out of the collective anus of third-rate developers that the PlayStation 2 is known for. So let's dive right in, shall we? Trapt was released in Japan as Kagero II Dark Illusion. That means this game was the second in the series, right? Wrong. If you thought the Final Fantasy localization titles were confusing, you haven't seen just how deep these rabbit holes can go, daddy-o. Trapt belongs to a Japanese video game series called Deception. It's a sequel to the PlayStation game Kagero Deception II, which, as the title suggests, is the second game in the Deception series. However, there was a game released between Kagero I and II titled Deception III Dark Delusion. That means Trapt, or Deception Kagero II Dark Illusion, is the fourth game in the series. And don't even get me started on Trapt's sequel, Deception 4, which is actually the fifth game in the series. I think it should go without saying that I haven't played any of these other games, therefore I'm obviously more than qualified to review Trapt in the context of these 5 very confused games. However, despite Trapt's status as the fourth game in the series, you don't need to have played the first few games to be any less confused by this cluster heck of a storyline. It's self-contained, but still has so many twists and turns that I felt like anything could happen. The main premise is that you play as this anime princess named Allura, who was framed for murdering her father, King Olaf, by her evil stepmother, Catalina. Her goal is to stay alive and eventually clear her name and fend off hordes of soldiers and townsfolk that Catalina sends her way, by using her brand spanking new demonic arm that sets gruesome traps to eviscerate anyone who is unfortunate enough to grind Allura's gears. The story kind of fell flat, because by the end I was just left confused as to what the characters' motivations were. They explained themselves, but it got more and more frustrating as the game went on, because a lot of times they contradicted themselves. It also seems like they wanted to make Allura more of an evil character, but I really couldn't feel bad for the people she killed because they were straight up trying to murder her for money, power, or just as some weird sex thing. The twists fell flat as well because there were just too many of them. In terms of sheer shock value, I'd say I was more jarred by that one time I told this girl I matched with on Tinder to text the word confuzzle to me, to prove to me that she wasn't a bot, and she actually texted that silly word back to me. We are now in a loving and committed I'm just kidding, she ghosted me. The graphics look really good for a PlayStation 2 game, and PCSX2 really came in clutch this time because that anti-aliasing makes the textures look smoother than my legs after that one time I shaved them out of curiosity when I was a junior in high school. However, despite the good graphics, the color palette is a little bland and there are a lot of graphical errors, specifically in these hallways that are apparently surrounded by a dimension of all-consuming darkness. Despite its janky graphics and complex storyline, the game itself isn't too difficult, so even the least headstrong among us could beat this game. There are some frustrating mechanics, like the ice wizards that have the potential to keep you in an infinite stun lock, and the shadow priestesses who can do the same thing but have homing missiles instead. But those guys have low health and can be killed by a large iron ball. Killing people with traps is always unintentionally hilarious, because they always walk into your deadly devices like the geniuses they are. It's really up to you to have fun with setting these traps though. You can choose to breeze through the game by using the same few combos over and over, or you can get creative and try new things. You won't be punished for experimenting. In fact, you'll be rewarded handsomely if your experiments pan out. And you really have nothing to lose because most of the enemies are slow and dumb enough for this game to forgive your tomfoolery. Sadly, despite its openness in terms of Trapt variety, I'm going to have to solemnly lower this game into the pit of great ideas with wasted potential, alongside other titles such as Darkest of Days. While it has a lot of variety and customization with the ways you can kill enemies, the meaningful challenge just isn't there. I know it's a difficult balancing act to create a game that's challenging while still retaining player freedom, but that would have worked wonders for this game because it's just too easy to spam Iron Ball at your enemies every time. Especially because sometimes the more complicated traps can be really frustrating to set and usually either fail due to the enemy being 1 pixel off target, or you getting distracted by the action being broken up by one of those damn cutscenes that plays every time a new enemy enters the room or dies. So is Trapt worth playing today? I'd say yes, but set very modest expectations for this game. It's not a mind-blowing experience by any means, but I can think of worse ways to spend 4 hours. Alright, that's all, and thanks for watching. Your views motivate me to continue making these videos and talking about these games that I find interesting, so I sincerely thank you guys for watching. In other news, I'm launching a new channel creatively named CreamyClaws Plays, which will be the second channel for my Let's Play content, and will fall outside of the realm of game reviews and more traditional scripted content. I linked it in the pinned comment of this video, and will try to go live on it as often as I can. These will be Let's Plays of games that I am not going to review but am nonetheless interested in, so there won't be too much of an overlap in content between the two channels. Alright, stay safe out there everyone. Creamy out.